Come on in, welcome to my home. Today I thought I'd do something very fall-like because, well, it's almost fall. Today we are going to make some chai, and we are also going to make a wonderful pumpkin bread, which is just, I'll be honest, I have it right here. I'm loving this. It is so good. Yes, I've cheated and I've already eaten some. Mom had some. It was great. But let's talk about some things first. One of the things which I'm going to tell you more than anything else is if you buy spices and you want to keep your spices for any period of time, the thing that you probably want to do is invest in a spice grinder and buy whole spices, because the ground spices do not last as long as whole spices do. And if you grind your spices fresh, well, as fresh as dried spices can be, if you grind them right away, then use them, grind them and then use them right away, you will find that they taste much better. Now, do I always do this? No, not always, but I try. I try to do this as much as I possibly can, and I try to do this with things that I possibly can. So I have my spice grinder, and the one that I did show you, because it's a loud process, it can be very loud, was my allspice. When I ground up my allspice, I did use the spice grinder. Generally, I don't do this with everything, but I do it with most things, simply because, like I said, it tastes so good and it is so easy, and having a spice grinder on hand will just make everything which you make really easy. But let's jump into this. This is an oat milk chai, and now the thing to remember about this is the fact that if you do not add the milk to it, you can keep it as a concentrate, which is really cool. The recipe is listed down below in the description, really simple to follow, and it takes no time at all. The one thing which I have found, and I didn't know that this was a trick, that if you have fresh ginger and you want to peel your fresh ginger, just use a spoon, and the spoon helps scrape away the skin. I guess it's skin. The skin of the ginger, that way you can then just chop it up. No problems whatsoever. And the other part about this is all of the ingredients that you use in this just get simmered. And once you have simmered them, then you can then worry about you strain them out. So you don't have to find the most perfect looking cloves or the most wonderful cardamom. In fact, the cardamom pods, they say you should break them, and then the peppercorns, and also the ginger. It doesn't have to be the greatest of everything, because the steeping of it or boiling of it is what really does this. Once you boil it, you can then strain it out and then use it that way. But I found that, nope, I was going to go ahead and mix this up right away. So I did add my oat milk. Now you can 100% use regular milk, whole milk, whatever milk that you find appropriate for you to use. And I can also say that I did run this through my milk frother, and it frothed really well, but I didn't get that on camera because I didn't think about that. So then once I put the milk into it, I then strained it, and then I went in for a taste. Okay, let's taste the chai. That's good. Yeah, that's really good. I like that. That's really good. The tea that I'm using is black tea. It is what is recommended in the recipe. I just bought our local black tea that I could get my hands on. So there are no special ingredients in this, and it was just so good. And from there, I was like, well, now that I'm in that kind of mood, why not make some pumpkin bread? Pumpkin bread, I think, is one of the easy things to make, and the thing about the pumpkin bread is the fact that when you make your pumpkin bread, you do not have to add nuts to it. Right now, my mom is not able to chew really easily, so we did this without adding nuts to it. You can add them however you want, but no, you don't have to. I've found that I like to do all of my dry ingredients by themselves. The thing that I totally spaced out on, and remember I talked about those dry spices? Well, I decided I needed to make my own pumpkin spice mix. Of course, that recipe is listed down below in the description, and it's really easy to make. I mean, with your cinnamon and nutmeg and all of those wonderful ingredients, you just add them one at a time, and then put it in the container. You can stir it, you can mix it up however you want, but you want to get it so that it is nicely mixed, so that way when it comes time for your pumpkin, to use your pumpkin spice, you'll be able to do that. Now, like I said, I did my allspice in my spice grinder, just put those in there. I tried to estimate about how many I would need. I overestimated because it didn't really call for that much. But mixing it all up, getting it in there, and then putting it into a container to mix it up. Then, of course, that was when I found my pumpkin pie spice, and so I just put them all together and had one big, huge batch of pumpkin spice. So, I guess I'm going to have to make some pumpkin spice lattes sometime. If you'd like to see me do a whole new version of pumpkin spice lattes, let me know down in the comments. But let's get on to the pumpkin bread. The pumpkin bread, the first thing that you want to do is mix your dry ingredients. And of course your dry ingredients do include things like your flour, your baking soda, and then your pumpkin pie spice. Now, I do not count my salt as a dry ingredient because I am using sea salt, and I like to mix that up with my wet ingredients. When it comes to my wet ingredients, I'm mixing up my pumpkin puree, my eggs, my vegetable oil, water, vanilla extract, sugar, and of course that sea salt. You want to mix those really well. I did do my eggs 1 or 2 at a time. That's up to you. So I mixed those up really well. Then I added my dry ingredients to my wet ingredients. Made sure that everything was thoroughly mixed, and then I'm using my silicone no stick baking loaves, my loaf pans, so then I could pour my bread into the loaf pans. That batter just goes in there, make sure that it is evenly distributed between the 2 pans, and I put it in a 350-degree oven and baked it. Now, I will tell you, for full disclosure, that mine had to bake for 80 minutes because after 60 minutes it wasn't anywhere near done. After 75 minutes it still was just about done, but not completely done. But after 80 minutes, it was totally, completely done. I love those loaf pans because they do not stick. You do not need to spray them. They can go into the dishwasher. They are just absolutely wonderful. I use them all the time. But then, as I've said before, you get this wonderful pumpkin bread. This is so good. That is really good. If you were to combine that with your chai, I think that would be the most wonderful thing on a cool, if it ever does get truly cool, fall day. I would recommend this wholeheartedly. Like I said, all the recipes are linked down below in the description. At this time, I'd like to thank these people who like to watch me go into detail about making recipes. They got to see how I did this recipe beforehand and the behind-the-scenes shots of what it actually looked like. And they get a weekly vlog where I talk about what's going on in my life and what's happening behind the scenes of the channel. If you're interested in joining the Patreon family or becoming a channel member, just hit that button. If you do that, it really does help support this channel and keeps this channel going. If not, you can always help this channel by liking and sharing this video. Don't forget to subscribe, because this really does tell YouTube that this is a video that should be shared and more people should see it, and it's sort of a fun thing to do. If you're interested in any of the products that I use, the links are also down in the description. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope we get to see you again the next time you stop by.